Hi guys, this is your social studies video for today, Friday, June 12th. Um, Today we're going to be talking about a part women played in the American Revolution, as well as some examples of Native Americans in American Revolution. Um, and then we're also going to talk about two effects that the Patriots' victory at Battle of Saratoga had. So for that, we're gonna have to kind of backtrack to last lesson. Okay. So I'm on page 172. You could follow along as I read. The title is "Women of the Revolution." Okay, so many women played important parts in the war. Martha Washington, who was George Washington's wife, traveled with her husband, visiting with troops and helping soldiers. Other women cooked, carried water, and made clothes for troops, and served as nurses for the sick and wounded. Women who carried water to soldiers on the battlefield earned the nickname Molly Pitcher. Mary Ludwig Hayes of New Jersey was probably one of them. As the story goes, when her husband was injured, Hayes took his place firing cannons at the British. Other women worked as spies or messengers for the army. Deborah Sampson even dressed in men's clothes and secretly joined the army. She fought in several battles before anyone discovered she was a woman. Women did not have to be close to the battlefield to help the war effort. Phyllis Wheatley, a former slave, wrote poetry about the colonists' struggle for freedom and spoke out against slavery. Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, believed strongly in independence and rights for women. While John was at the Second Continental Congress, she wrote him letters saying, "In new code of laws, remember the ladies." Okay, so we have a picture here, three pictures, I should say, of the revolutionary women that they were talking about. Abigail Adams, Phyllis Wheatley, and Deborah Sampson. And it says, fill in the chart with facts about each woman and how she helped the revolutionary cause. Okay, so Abigail Adams, she wrote letters to her husband. I'm writing it as I say it. She wrote letters to John Adams to include women in the new government. Okay, so that's how she helped. She really pushed for women's rights. Okay, so she wrote letters to John Adams to include women in the new government. Now, Phyllis Wheatley, she was a former slave. Okay, so she wrote, and she was a poet too. She wrote poetry about the colonists' struggle for freedom, and she spoke out against slavery. Okay, so wrote poetry about the colonist struggle spoke out against slavery. Okay. Okay. And the last one, Deborah Sampson, she's the one who dressed up and fought secretly, dressed up as a man, because they didn't let women fight in those days in the army. So you could say, dress up like a man and fought in several battles. Okay. Okay, and you could obviously pause this video and copy down what I'm saying or replay it. Now we're going to move on to page 173, and it says Native Americans in the Revolution. So it's going to talk a little bit about some different Native Americans, okay? Different Native American nations fought on different sides during the war. Those who fought with the British, such as the Cherokees, wanted the colonists to stop taking their land. They hoped that the British would help them. Joseph Brant, a Mohawk leader, met with King George III before the war and told his people to side with the British. Other Native American groups, such as the Oneida and many Tuscarora, fought on the Patriot side. Many Native Americans just remained neutral, meaning they just stayed out of the war. Unfortunately, and it doesn't talk a lot about the Native Americans, but I wish it would have mentioned them more, because either way, whatever side they fought on, the British didn't have any intention of helping them out with their land. The British wanted the land just as much as the colonists wanted the land. Eventually, as we go through history further, in deeper into history, you'll see how the Native Americans sadly lose most of their land and keep getting pushed farther west as we expand as a country. It was kind of a lose-lose situation for the Native Americans. But it doesn't. At least it mentions them in the text. But I wish it would have talked a little bit more about them. In any event, number 7 talks about cause and effect. Okay, and it says name 2 effects of the Patriots' victory at the Battle of Saratoga. This is where I was talking about we have to backtrack. Okay, so if we go back to page 170. The Battle of Saratoga, the first one, if you remember, I told you before this victory, the French were reluctant or kind of hesitant to help us out because they weren't sure if we could beat the British. After this, they were convinced that we could beat the British, and they said they would help us out. So one effect is the French helped us, agreed to help us. And then also more volunteers joined the Patriots, us, the Americans, okay? So the French agreed to help us, and more people volunteered for the army, we'll say. Okay. So the French agreed to help us, and more people volunteered for the army. Okay. So that was, like I said in my last video, that was a big turning point in the war. If we didn't get help from the French, we might not have won. We were very underarmed, meaning we didn't have nearly as many ships, cannons, ammunition, rifles as the British. So the French were a huge help to us, and this victory at Saratoga convinced them that we had a chance of winning, and it was a worthwhile cause to help us. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.